Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we will be taking an in-depth look at the teaser trailer that launched a couple of days ago. This gives us a glimpse on what we could see for the Elder Scrolls Online 2022 year-long chapter. There are a lot of details shown here that will give us a good idea on where we will be in the coming year. I will be giving examples about where I believe the next chapter will be located based on some lore friendly points and with some examples shown to us in this video. Also, with whose lore are we going to explore in this coming year. So let's drop the sails and get ready to set sail on this adventure, since we have a long way to go to arrive at our destination. Let's start this video off with whose lore are we going to be diving into this year. Starting off with where we stopped at, as you can see on this ship, it has some blue flags on it. And so what that means to me is I believe that this is a Daggerfall Covenant ship. And if we kind of look at previous lores that we discovered in the Daggerfall Covenant area, you have Redguard, you have the Bretons, and you have the Orcs, which we have already gotten the Orsinium / Worthgar area in like year 1. So I'm guessing that we are probably going to be either discovering the Redguards or the Breton this time around as the lore wise. And why I say that this is probably a Daggerfall Covenant is because we have a similar video later on in here that shows a bunch of ships arriving with the ship that we have currently here. And as you can see, to the left of that ship is another ship that has some yellow flags onto it. And then over to the right side of the screen there, we have a red sailed ship there, which I believe the red sailed is the Ebonheart Pack because it looks like a Viking ship and very Nordic type of thing. And the Elegant Sea of the yellow flag ship, I believe, is the Elmerian Dominion. So it would, to my understanding, I would believe that the center one is the Daggerfall Covenant. So, now which one of the two lores are we going to discover? Well, by playing this through a little bit more, we kind of get a very good hint on whose lore we're going to be getting by looking at the building in this picture here on this cliffside here. To me, this looks like a very Breton style building compared to what Redguards typically build in their architecture. So I would say we are probably going to be going into the Breton along with some armor that we see later on in this trailer. Again, it's not totally a Breton building. It has the same style of it, but I wouldn't say it is completely a Breton building. So like I was saying about the armor, we're going to kind of skip ahead a little bit, looking at the armor here. As the knight walks up, you can see the shin guard there pretty well, kind of has that flowery style that the Bretons typically have on their heavy armor. As we continue on a little bit more here, let's see if we can get a good shot of that belt there, kind of right by underneath the hilt there of the sword, or of the two-handed sword, that we kind of have a Breton style belt along with kind of the chest plates. I know it's not really shown the best, but we kind of have a good little view here of what the chest plate kind of looks like. It does kind of have that Breton style. Now for me, what kind of throws me off a little bit is the actual shoulder pieces on this knight. The helmet looks very Breton style. I'm going to say the backside of this chest plate also looks very Breton style, but the shoulders kind of throw me off because they not like a typical steel shoulder plate. It has more fur and more kind of like, you know, hide onto it, and it's not really a hide shoulder. It does have some steel into it, but I think it's actually kind of like a nomadic type of style to the Bretons. So what I mean by nomadic is kind of like their ancient history. So what was the Bretons' ancient history? Well, the Breton name actually diverts from the name of half man, half elf. So Bretons are half man, half elf, and that's why they kind of have arcane powers. And let's go over to our map of Nirn here. So here we have the world map of Nirn, not the entire thing, but a good fair point of it. So on this map, Bald Lake Center, we have Tamriel with going over into the direction of Valenwood, and then Eleanor, which would be Somerset. The Breton's ancestor actually came from Eleanor or Somerset Isles, known as the Denerian Elf, where they were kind of brief history, basically forced out of Somerset because the High Elves didn't really care for them all too much. So then they were kind of forced to kind of go settle in other lands. Now the Breton ancestors actually came from Atmora, way at the top of the map there in the frozen tundra, and then they kind of sailed south into Tamriel, kind of hitting all the islands on the way between Atmora into Tamriel. Now, the reason why Atmora is actually frozen is because it is believed, lore-wise, that it's actually frozen in time. So we're going to kind of just zoom into Tamriel a little bit so I can talk about the Breton's ancestors. So when the Breton's ancestors traveled to Tamriel, they were known as the Nedes. And the Nedes actually settled in pretty much what is now known as Skyrim, Morrowind, High Rock, Hammerfell, Cyrodiil, and even where it says Argonian, yes, that should be Blackwood. But yes, that's, or Black Marsh, that is where they kind of settled in a thing. Now, what's kind of interesting a little bit about the Nede history is that they were kind of conquered by elves in most of the things, or they drove out the elves in like Skyrim and stuff like that. But like the Nedes in Hammerfell, they were actually killed by the Yukuta warriors who actually came from Yukuta and conquering the islands, heading east into Tamriel, and they actually killed them all off in Hammerfell. Now, the Denerian elves that I was talking about earlier actually traveled all the way up into High Rock. Since they thought themselves as superior, like most of the time of the elves, they always think themselves better than everybody else, decided to kind of control the men in the area, the Nede people. So they kind of controlled them, and then after a short period of time, we end up having the race of Bretons being born. Since the Bretons were part man during the time the Denerians reigned, they pretty much thought them a little bit better than the humans, but were not eligible to pretty much hold nobility basically in elven culture. So, but yet a little bit higher ranking than the Nedes. Nedes were basically the slaves, while the Bretons were kind of more of your merchants and stuff, kind of fitting their culture a little bit of what it is known today. So there was a little bit brief history on that. Now we're going to actually go to kind of our first picture of landscape where I actually believe we're going to kind of see where we're actually going to be going this year. And so we're going to kind of go into this picture right here. I did brighten it up a little bit so we can kind of get a better look at things. So I really kind of want to focus at this spot right here for right now. Because right off the bat, when I saw this, I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure I know where that is. Especially with all the other islands that are kind of right next to it out there. That, okay, this has to be over by Hammerfall. So what I mean by this is basically in this area right here, it looks very similar to the fact of Hammerfell, where you have Hughes Bane, which is one of the playable areas that we currently have in the Elder Scrolls Online, with Stros Mackay kind of on that green line with the chain as well, maybe, which we don't have that as an open area, but I believe it's kind of the same looking picture at first glance. That's what it looked like. So we'll probably play on those set of islands that I have located off the coast of Hammerfell and right below High Rock area, which that area is known as Glenumbra in the Elder Scrolls Online game. However, kind of further inspection of that picture, especially around this thing, if I go back and play the video, which I will here a little bit, that if we can kind of slowly go through it, if you notice the landscape of where kind of like the little island kind of connects, the neck of it that kind of connects to the major continent, look at how actual thick that thing is. I know it kind of gets blurry here in the video a bit, but we're going to kind of just slowly go through it. In my opinion, it doesn't get overly wide. And since that area doesn't really get overly wide, I don't believe that this area is actually Hughes Bane that we are looking at when we're traveling through. So if it's not Hughes Bane, then where are we exactly? Well, going back out to our Tamriel map, I was kind of looking around this map, and I do believe we are actually looking at the northern part of Skyrim up in here. So if we actually go into that area right now, I did blur things out just to keep the anticipation up. And so here we got kind of that same neck of an island to the main body land, kind of with the same style of terrain going as well. If we go back to our other picture there, to me, kind of looks somewhat similar. On top of it, we also have those islands that are sitting out there. I will highlight them again with our area that I'm thinking was Hughes Bane, but now currently our red highlighted area there, and the islands being there. Going back into our other map with it being probably these islands here, either the top two or the one kind of below it. Now for me, what was another kind of interesting thing that I think also matches is over in the upper right hand corner of our screen there, we have kind of what it looks like a dividing of two land masses right in there, which seems very similar to the same as our area right in here, kind of the two lands separating and stuff like that. And I know when we play the video, it looks like there's a little island off top of the thing, which we do have one there, but I actually do believe it's actually not an island coming off of that tip, that it's actually connected. If we go back into our video here, we're just kind of play through it a little bit. As you can kind of see that they spread open a little bit as we go past the flags here. And right there, right above, towards like the center, just right before the black edge, you can kind of see there's a little bit of rock that's still connected to the land, so that's why I believe it's not a little island like it's shown by over by Hammerfell and off the coast of Glenumbra as being an island. That's why I believe it's kind of in the area of where I'm depicting it as of right now. So now we're going to actually go over to the island that we are currently seeing in this video trailer, and here we go into that. So we kind of have backed it up a little bit, but so what was interesting about this island that I actually think matches my island very interestingly is that off on the left hand side of that island over in this area over here, it kind of looks like it's like a little cape where it kind of like as an island piece where it kind of connects to the land and kind of makes like almost like a hook shape out into open water, almost to being like a peninsula type of thing. Well, going back over into our other picture here, we're going to kind of highlight that island a bit, is I actually do believe that is kind of this area right here because there's a little bit of an opening in it as well. If we play the video again, I can show you that. We're going to go back to our picture. So with that cape being in this area again, just for a reminder, and then the coastline of that island seems also to match kind of what we also have. This coastline here kind of seems to match what we have going on over in this map right here as well. Now let's go back into that video again, and we're going to play it to that island a little bit. As we kind of slowly go, if you can kind of see, as I kind of play in and out, that if you look off to the left hand of the main island, that it kind of looks like there's a little cape with some flags standing on it, so it might be a couple of ports over there as well, is what my guess is. And then continuing on with the landscape a little bit. Now we're going to kind of play into this a little bit more, and I want you to kind of look at the island right here. Just mostly look at kind of the mountain terrain of it. And now we're going to kind of go back into our world map a little bit. So what's very interesting about this world map is the fact is, here we're going to get rid of our highlighted areas, that this map is not based off of the climate of the area. What this map is actually based off is elevation. As we kind of go, I'll show you, go back into the Tamriel map, because you know most of Valenwood is not a snowy region, because that's what it would depict if, let's say, the white area was being the snow region. Valenwood is not a very snowy region, neither is Elsewhere. Elsewhere is a very dry and humid area, more of deserty type, with Valenwood being more of mountain or of forestry, jungly type of terrain. So this is a elevation map. So the lower the green is, or I should say the darker the green is, the lower to sea level you are, with black marsh, where it says Argonian basically being that light green because it's kind of a mix of the blue and green, because some of it is submerged underwater because of the swamp area. So going back into our nerd map here, where I think it is. Now, there are some white caps here, as you can see, which is actually ice, which you can tell the difference because they actually don't have the elevation of the mountain white on them. They are kind of look more like of an ice crystal type of thing. That is actual ice. But now if you actually look at our island that we have, where I said our cape was and where our mountain edge was here, that there's actually a mountain probably on there, and there might be more than just one. There looks like there might be actually a couple of mountains on it. And actually going back into that video loop again, we're going to kind of jump to this one, looking at it again, you can see that there are a very distant mountain by the cloud level, that there's a mountain right up in front, and then there even looks to be one further back. Even if we kind of go into where this cove city is sitting, you can tell that this is a pretty mountainous terrain, that it's not pretty flat and stuff like that. Now, why do I also think it's also in this area as well, going back at our map here? Now, why I believe it's here compared to our, let's say, area over into Hammerfell is because the little islands there don't really show much of elevation. On top of it, looking at previous Elder Scrolls games, when they release an area for the next chapter, whether that was Somerset, whether that was Vardenfell, whether that was Greymoor, whether that be Blackwood, a lot of these zones, or even Orsinium, a lot of these zones were really big. They weren't the size of a tiny island like Strosmakai, because Strosmakai is more of a starter zone. Same with Betnik, is more of like kind of a starter zone. And then you have Canarthi's Roots for the Elmerian Dominion was an island, which was also a starter zone. And also you had Bleaker, which is over for the Ebonheart Pack, which went into Belfoya, which kind of was more of a smaller zone, not really an island, but that was a smaller zone. So to me, I don't believe we are going to go to something that small of an island. So that's why actually looking at our other area, I believe that's maybe a little bit bigger, and they can maybe do a little bit more with that already. And just by what kind of matches to what we kind of have going on in the video clip and with this map as well. So another thing I kind of want to bring up is the video of the storm. I'm going to kind of let this loop in the background, but as you can kind of see, what we have actually looped here is at the very beginning of the video, the ships are sailing. It seems to be a very nice, bright, clear day. And then just all of a sudden, just randomly out of nowhere, this storm just kind of appeared. And it's not like your typical storm either. It don't seem like it actually came from the sky. If we actually kind of will pause it when it kind of shows up here. But if you actually look at it, just a random fog kind of appeared. So that kind of makes me wonder, okay, does that actually now fit our zone? And actually that kind of does, because there's an actual lore where these ships are sailing by that island that I've shown of the Sea of Ghosts, where random fog storms would kind of show up and they would dilute the sailors to kind of misguide them on where they should go, type of thing, and crash them into rocks, where we can kind of see in our trailer video that we have. Gonna skip all the way towards the back end of it. After this guy walks up, with the fog still being there, but if you actually look at the sails of the ships on this, they're tethered and torn, and we just kind of almost had a ship kind of almost hit a rock. We'll kind of back it up here again. As you can kind of see off on the very left hand side, there was actually rocks there where water is now spewing off of them, with more in the sea there. So it could be that they are misguiding these sailors to their doom. With the Ebonheart Pack boat, looks like it tips over at the end of the video there as well. So going back into our world map, that is why I believe the sea that we will be traveling here is actually called the Sea of Ghosts, because of the random thing. Now, where exactly is this island and what is it called? So what I believe we're going to be discovering this chapter will be the Breton old, I guess, ancestors, since we've been like discovering like ancestral Nords, ancient Daedra armor, ancient Almerian Dominion armor, and stuff like that. I believe we're actually going to get ancient Breton armor, which will be basically based off of the Nedes, since they pretty much were like kind of frozen in time since they're close to Atmora. And where we're going to probably be going, I'm going to guess the name of the island is probably going to be called the island of Isgard, which was rumored to believe to be where Skyrim was actually going to be held, or the Elder Scrolls V was actually going to be held, was going to be on Isgard. So I believe they kind of brought it back, and we are going to be traveling to the island of Isgard this chapter. So thank you all for watching. If you did like the video, please leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It is free for you to do so, and it also helps with the YouTube algorithm so that my video may be shown to others as well. If you do think I am currently right, or if you guys have other ideas on where we are going in this upcoming chapter, I would love to hear your guys' opinions and thoughts. You guys can leave those down in the comment section down below. And I will also leave on the screen for you when the live stream for this is going to be announced on where we are actually going, to see how close of a guess we are. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in game or in the next video.